Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard with David Krayden. I'm your host, David Krayden, or David Trudeau must go. Krayden, back with a story of the week. And we all know the G7 was transpiring over the last few days in Hiroshima or Hiroshima, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It keeps going back and forth over the years. But of course, our own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, took the opportunity to lecture Giorgio Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, on how she's apparently violating all kinds of rights, and those attached to the LGBTQ2S plus, if you can still say that alphabet soup absurdity with a straight face. And he lectured her and hectored her, and I just love the picture. And I'm just going to show you this here. This is wonderful. Look at, doesn't she look pleased? Yes, that is the story. And I wrote a column for the Post Millennial. Justin Trudeau humiliates himself trying to shame Italy's conservative leader over LGBTQ2S plus rights. And I was quite proud of it because I said to myself when I saw this photograph, this outrage on this Italian prime minister, who, by the way, everybody thought was some kind of fascist, the return of Benito Mussolini. She had turned out to be, of course, Italy's Margaret Thatcher. She takes tough stances, but she looks after Italians. She went after the real issues in that country, which are not LGBTQ rights. The real issues are the high price of heating your home, runaway inflation, and open borders. And that's what she immediately got busy about. But Trudeau is inventing problems, of course. And every time he leaves the country, and we know this, don't we? Every time he leaves the country, he embarrasses himself. Remember that trip to India? The absurdity of him donning traditional Indian garb every day for a photo op with it, and the poor family. He's got the children sitting there with him and his wife, Sophie, dressed up as well in this traditional Indian garb. I thought that was called a cultural appropriation if you're as woke as Mr. Trudeau. Apparently not when he does it. Just like it's okay for him to do blackface. We'll get into that a little bit more. But of course, everybody else who opposes him is a horrible racist. But he was allowed to do blackface all his year. A gifted blackface performer, by the way. And he is a feminist politician who is always calling out misogyny in the conservative ranks. Anyone who disagrees with him is a misogynist. But of course, he's thrown at least two cabinet ministers under the bus, female cabinet ministers under the bus, who are actually very gifted at what they were doing, probably the most talented people in that cabinet. Yes. And he's also infamously hectored and yelled at a black female politician in his caucus when she told him she wasn't going to run again, and he ran after her for that one. But he's again talking down to women here, and this is an opportunity for Justin Trudeau to embarrass himself. And let's face it, he does that very well. I just want to read a few lines from this. It said, perhaps he gave Meloni the same handshake squeeze that he inflicted upon Alberta Premier Danielle Smith when the two met in February. Remember that? They were announcing a healthcare accord, and it was the first time he ever met Danielle Smith. And he squeezed her hand so hard, he left a thumb imprint on her hand. And everybody just thought that was outrageous, but just the way Justin Trudeau treats women. That's the way he is. And so here he is going after Meloni. And of course, what does Meloni say on Saturday? She comes out and says, Trudeau was reckless. He was a victim of fake news. Oh my, fake news. That's what Justin Trudeau is trying to save us all from with his internet censorship scheme. Yeah, fake news is what he's supposedly against. It's all misinformation, disinformation, the stuff he won't define. Apparently, he was doing a lot of that on his own, accusing Italy of somehow carting off all the LGBTQ people. And this is absolute nonsense, as it turned out. He is the man who lectures the world on the dangers of authoritarianism, but also the near megalomaniac who invoked the Emergencies Act to crush an anti-vaccine protest by the Freedom Convoy truckers. Lately, he has shown his ongoing contempt for basic democratic rights by implementing censorship legislation that will severely repress free speech on the internet. Trudeau is neither qualified nor justified in lecturing anyone about human rights or democracy because he has consistently violated both. Yes. And of course, the Italian media loved this because it's once again, it's Justin Trudeau on the international stage, humiliating himself, humiliating Canada, and frankly, looking like a fool. I love this report out of Australia. Let's have a look at this.
Losing it, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thought it was wise to lecture Italy's Giorgia Meloni at the G7 overnight about her country's LGBTQ record.
Not very wise.
Canada is concerned about some of the positionings that Italy is taking in terms of the LGBT rights, but I look forward to talking with you about that because we're here at the G7 as an assembly of countries that are promoting the kinds of strong values and democratic principles that the world needs, and I always look forward to those conversations with you.
Let's just zoom in on the Italian PM's face as Trudeau decided to mansplain democracy to her. Yeah, not happy. And this final look really sums up what all of us think of the repugnant, incompetent Trudeau. Can we have that final look from Georgia because she's not happy at all? We don't have it. We'll bring it to you later.
We found the picture. And there it is. And she just looked at the camera and saying, who in hell does this guy think he is? That's what she is thinking. She's not saying it. I don't know what the two said in private conversation, but the Italian media actually went crazy with the story because it's, what an insult to lecture your prime minister on human rights when you can't do that yourself. And this is a perfect example of that. So I want to show you some of that coverage here. Now, this is that's an Italian newspaper. Some claim it's fascist. I don't know. But it's indicative of the reporting that was going on because they were mentioning the fact that, yes, Trudeau has donned blackface over the years. And just to read a couple of the lines from it here. It's quite interesting. Quite interesting. Because they talk about that just over a year ago, the Canadian government froze the bank accounts of protesters protesting against compulsory vaccination. Oops. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he invoked the Emergencies Act to crush the Freedom Convoy. And Auto Police had cracked down on the protest, with mounted authorities also running over protesters.
Il Consiglio avrebbe risposto che il suo governo sta seguendo le decisioni dei tribunali e non si sta discostando dalle precedenti politiche. Justin Trudeau si dice dunque preoccupato riguardo a ciò che accade nel nostro paese. Proprio lui, che nel suo Canada si è mostrato tutt'altro che rispettoso di quelli dei suoi connazionali. Poco più di un anno fa il governo canadese aveva addirittura congelato i conti bancari dei manifestanti che protestavano contro l'obbligo vaccinale. Le manifestazioni denominate Convoglio della Libertà erano partite dai camionisti contrari all'obbligo e si erano estese ad altre persone che attraversavano il confine con gli Stati Uniti. La polizia di Ottawa aveva represso duramente le proteste con le autorità a cavallo che avevano anche travolto i manifestanti. Il sindaco della capitale aveva anche proposto di mettere all'asta i camion sequestrati. Questa sarebbe dunque la linea imposta in Canada dal sincero democratico Justin Trudeau, che dopo aver represso le legittime proteste contro l'obbligo vaccinale prova a dare ora lezioni in tema di diritti, un po' simile alla polemica di alcuni giorni fa con la
Yeah, good stuff, eh? And that is precisely what the Italian media was reporting. They were reminding the world, not just Italians, but the world, what Trudeau is really like when it comes to democratic rights and human rights. He crushes them if he doesn't agree with the people protesting against his government. Does this all the time. This would therefore be the line imposed in Canada by the sincere Democrat Justin Trudeau, who, after having repressed the legitimate protests against compulsory vaccination, tries to give lessons on the subject of human rights. And that, my friend, is everything Justin Trudeau is about. Here's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni explaining this problem as she saw
it. Fatemi una... Però insomma ce l'ho, ma preferisco non dirla adesso. Ma per quello che riguarda, guardi, come ho vissuto, come vivo sempre le fake news, francamente, nel senso che, insomma, il pronunciamento del Parlamento europeo, immagino che lei conosca il Parlamento europeo è un luogo politico, dove si fa politica, e quindi oggi c'è una maggioranza e quella maggioranza chiaramente dice quello che pensa su quella che attualmente sarebbe l'opposizione, e ci sta, è politica. Per quello che riguarda il presidente Trudeau, io penso che il presidente Trudeau fosse vittima di una fake news, tant'è che io ne ho parlato con lui e mi pare che lui stesso se ne sia reso conto. Cioè è una certa propaganda che arriva, ma quando tu chiedi nel merito mi puoi dire di che cosa parliamo, non si ha notizia di quali siano i temi sui quali uno dovrebbe essere preoccupato. Cioè io ho ricordato al primo ministro Trudeau, con il quale poi abbiamo, insomma, siamo venuti a capo di questa vicenda, perché probabilmente lui è stato un po' avventato a fare questa dichiarazione, ma gli ho spiegato che noi non abbiamo fatto alcun provvedimento su questa materia e quindi non so di che cosa bisognerebbe essere preoccupati rispetto a quello che c'era prima, visto che c'è esattamente la stessa legislazione. Quindi voglio dire, ci sta, perché accade quando si è particolarmente vittime di o oggetto di una propaganda che non corrisponde alla verità. Queste cose possono accadere. Penso che il primo ministro Trudeau si sia perfettamente reso conto di quanto sia distante il racconto che si fa sulla sottoscritta dalla realtà che riguarda la sottoscritta.
Yeah, you'll notice that she occasionally refers to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as Il Presidente. I don't know if that she's being funny with that, because Trudeau does think he's president of Canada sometimes. I'm surprised she didn't compare him to Il Duce, because that's how he put down those freedom convoy protests, just like a dictator. But I think she took it rather good-naturedly. But that's what makes her a strong leader. And Trudeau, a pusillanimous, very weak leader, because he takes himself so seriously. And this is what he hates the most. When he goes overseas and looks like an idiot. You remember what he did in London before the Queen's funeral, the official state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II? He's caught in a piano bar, or I actually think it's the lobby of the 5-star hotel he's staying in, at an absurd amount of money. And he's warbling that Queen hit from the 1970s, Bohemian Rhapsody. Doing it very badly, of course, because remember, he's a gifted blackface performer, not necessarily a gifted piano bar performer. But at least he didn't do it in blackface that time. And he's, of course, everybody saw this around the world, and Trudeau really takes these events with such sincerity and with such seriousness. And all I can say is he's done it again, and he's embarrassed us. He did not need to lecture Prime Minister Meloni of Italy on anything, especially human rights. She's doing just fine. It's Justin Trudeau who's not doing just fine. So I'm going to leave it with you there. This another great week for Trudeau watchers. And tune into this station, please. Support us. We're on the cusp of monetization. We're on the cusp of making this financially worthwhile, so we can continue to present the news to you that you need to hear and see. And I can continue to be here every week, more than every. I'm here some 2 or 3 days a week now, talking to you about what's going on in the world. I am a journalist with a number of media outlets, but this is where I have my most fun. This is where I get to really talk about the issues that are most important to you and to me. I hope you're enjoying this channel as much as I enjoy putting the material on here. This is not just about politics. I sing some of my favorite songs from the Great American Songbook. And you can also watch my latest show where we do some of the news you're not going to hear anywhere else. But please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. If you want to be part of this station, please be a subscriber. We want you.